Porsche tees up performance and value in the newest offering in the Macan lineup. I'm Jay, Steph's on vacation, and this is Modern Motoring. In Canada, the Porsche Macan is the brand's best-selling model, and it's also the gateway to get into the Porsche lineup. It's their smallest entry, it's their most affordable entry, and for 2023, they've decided to add a new trim that's full of value and performance in the T, where the T stands for Touring. So as of right now, the lineup stands as the Macan, which is the base, so there's no letter designation. There's the T, which is the Touring, which is this. There's the S, which gets a pretty big bump in power and goes from a 2-liter turbo 4 to the 2.9-liter engine. And then at the very top of the Macan lineup, you have the GTS. So I think it's a pretty smart move for them to add something that's only a few $1,000s over the base model, but give it all sorts of cool little features. Still the same power plant. And let's just jump into what that is right now. So here we have a 2-liter turbo 4-cylinder engine, 261 horse, 295 pound-feet of torque, all-wheel drive, and it's through their 7-speed automatic transmission. Let's get into what makes a Macan T a Macan T. So differences here over the base model are you get 20-inch gray rims, gray exterior accents, you get the blades, you get the word Macan T etched into that, you get a gray spoiler, you get your gray mirror caps as well as the mirror stems for your side mirrors. You get your sport seats, and they're 8-way powered, and they got the logo embossed in the headrest, which is pretty cool, and you get your quad tailpipes, 2 on each side. So visually it stands out. Personally speaking, I'm not the biggest fan of gray, whether it be interior or exterior. I can see how it would be a nice way to separate it. It's not that sad and depressing gray. It's actually tastefully done. Not for me, but absolutely might be for you. Visually, those 20-inch wheels look really sharp, and I like the design that Porsche Canada picked. It's that nice, clean, and classic 5-spoke rim. Really fills out the wheel wells quite nicely. And you'll notice the paint color, I don't know how you wouldn't. It's their paint to sample, and it's speed yellow. And it's kind of pricey at $13,050 on the option sheet. You don't have to get that. You can go with one of the provided colors or pay a little bit for some of the upgraded colors. And if you want to get something that has Porsche heritage all over it and you have the $13,050 to add, by all means, grab that. It looks so good. Now that we've determined what makes a Macan T, let's jump into the driving impression side of things. So with the 261 horse, 295 pound-feet of torque, it is plenty of power. It's not too much. That's what the S and GTS are for. If you really want something to really just unleash and make the most of what Porsche can do as far as performance goes. But whether it's the base model or whether it's the T that we have here, it's surprisingly quick and it's really agile. And yes, there's like a fraction of a second of hesitation if you're going from a dead stop and you need to just lurch forward as fast as you can for whatever reason, but you hit that power band in the middle and it just really jumps, and there's a lot of responsiveness here. Cabin noise is at a minimum, so even if you are going at highway speeds, it's relatively quiet in here. Not a lot of outside noise bleeds in. It feels good on a straightaway, curves, twists, turns, all done with ease, and that's just a simple testament to how Porsche designs their vehicles as far as the driving impressions, the engineering side goes. There's a couple of options added on here by Porsche Canada, and they are the Adaptive Air plus Porsche Active Suspension System. It's only $15.90. I would absolutely recommend that. And you have the Torque Vectoring Plus for $1,700. Not sure I'd take that. I would absolutely take the Adaptive Air and the active suspension, because that just makes the drive that much better. And I'm on a rural road right now, just a little north of where I live in Mississauga, and there's some bumps and dips in the road, and it feels like it's just a clean, freshly paved road. Porsche has done such a good job here. So you don't have to sacrifice performance if you're getting an SUV slash CUV slash crossover. Porsche has really done a great job here on making sure you get all of the luxury bits that you expect with a Porsche, and that you also get the impressive driving dynamics. Moving along with the driving side, you do have paddle shifters if you want to shift your own gears that way. This is the only way you can do it. There is no gate shifter on the gear selector. It's just park, reverse, neutral, and drive. Your gear selectors are at the bottom right of the steering wheel, and it's got Porsche's Sport Chrono package. Drive modes are Sport, Sport Plus, Normal, and Individual. Normal will do you just fine, and if you want to go into Sport, Sport Plus to really open it up, by all means, please do. But if you're just using this as a regular commuter vehicle running around the city and the highways, Normal has such a great response to it. It's got a pretty nice exhaust note to it as well, considering that it's a 2-liter turbo 4 engine. Let's wrap up with the fuel consumption side of things. So it is a 75-liter fuel tank, and in liters per 100 kilometers with premium fuel, because it is a Porsche, we are at 12.4 liters per 100 kilometers in the city, 9.3 on the highway, and a blended total comes out to an even 11. It's not too bad, and consider that you're driving a bit of a heavier vehicle, and it is a turbo engine, and really, when you're in the luxury space, I think fuel consumption ends up on a secondary list. It's definitely not a decision maker here. Moving on to the inside, let's start with the instrument cluster, and it's got Porsche's older design, and I say older kind of half tongue-in-cheek because the new one only came out a couple of years ago. But what we have here is an analog dial on the left with a digital bit at the bottom, an analog dial in the middle with your gear in the middle in a digital screen, very tiny one, and your speed also in a digital screen as well. And on the far right, it is all digital. So yes, I know Porsche can do beautiful things with fully digital instrument clusters. This still does it exactly as it needs to be done. Yes, the Macan is coming up on 10 years in this generation. I think there'll be a new generation, I think 25, maybe 26, or maybe they'll just go straight to an EV with it. Standard seats here are part leather and part cloth. Side bolsters are great, thigh bolsters are great. They really keep you in place. Not that you're going to be whipping this around twists and turns at higher speeds, but even on just regular city roads and rural roads, the seats keep you in place pretty well, and it's an 8-way power seat. One thing that's missing here is a sunroof, and it's pretty dark in here with the black interior and the black roof liner, and yeah, there's a bit of extra light that bounces off the yellow $13,050 paint job here, but not everybody's going to go for that. This does have Porsche's longer gear selector as opposed to the smaller, stubbier one that are in some of the newer models. I don't mind it. I think it does the job just fine. I'm not a big fan of the glass system, which bookends the gear selector. It just catches a lot of fingerprints. It looks a little on the messy side. Very functional, easy to see, easy to operate, but just the aesthetic of it doesn't really jive with me all that well. Rear seats are pretty comfortable. It's fairly spacious back there, and you get optional heated seats, and you get some USB ports back there as well. So your rear passengers are fairly well connected, and it's a pretty good place to be. You know, I'd sit there for a couple hours on a longer road trip. Finally, at the very back of the vehicle, let's touch on cargo space. It is a 40-20-40 split, and with all the seats up, it's 488 liters of cargo space. All the seats down, 1,530. So not best in class, but absolutely livable. I almost stumbled on that. I think I did. Absolutely livable. You can fit a fair amount of stuff back there. There's also a spare tire. Let's wrap up by looking at the competition. So BMW's X3 starts as low as 55,200. GV70 as low as 57,650, the GLC 58,900, and Audi's Q5, specifically the Progressive, because their base model is just too low, starts at 60,450. Now, the Macan T here starts at 66,200. Yes, the Macan T is a little more expensive than the prices that I've just given you, but you get some extra performance bits here as well, and you get some cool extra features and some visual aspects that are improved upon the base Macan as well. The T trim does fill a pretty big hole in the Macan lineup, because before it was just either base or you had to jump up to the S, and there was a pretty big jump in power, and not everyone needs all the power and the extra fancy bits. So the T, I think, will be a pretty popular seller for those who don't need all of the V6 performance from that 2.9 liter turbo engine. The 2 liter turbo 4 engine here does incredibly well. The Macan T is spec'd quite nicely, and in typical Porsche fashion, you can dress it up any way you want, or you can dress it down. You can go minimal on the option sheet. It really depends. But as far as the compact crossover market goes for the luxury world, the Macan T is one of the better ones. And if you are looking at one, at least take one out for a test drive and see what it's all about. If you have any questions on the 2023 Porsche Macan T, let us know in the comments. We're always happy to hear from you. We invite you to join our social media community. We're on Facebook and Instagram and obviously YouTube, because that's probably where you're watching this, as well as TikTok. I'm not really on the Twitter thing as much. So on behalf of Steph, who is not here, who's on vacation and should be back in a few videos from now, and myself, thank you so much for watching. We really appreciate the support, and we'll see you in the next video.